Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Too Many Guys Soccer Show Shorts. This is your Chelsea Short year in review. You know, I'm recording this almost defiantly. On the main show, our host mentioned that they wanted to highlight successful seasons. And frankly, we spent absolutely zero time on Chelsea. No one even mentioned them, aside from me comparing them to Liverpool, upon whom praise was being heaped. And listen, I'm not usually the sort of person that plays into this victim's mindset that many in the Chelsea world, especially online, have. You know, since Roman Abramovich bought the team in 2003, there's always been big disrespect from what was then the big three of Man U, Arsenal, and Liverpool, all in red. We were the interlopers. Our owner was foreign. The infusion of cash into the side, it wasn't natural. And every time we won the title, it was because of the money. Forget about the players on the field and where they came from or how good they were. And you know, it's funny because nowadays we've got a big six. You add in Tottenham and City. And you know, with all of that, all of their owners are foreign, including the original big four. And they all splash massive cash chasing big name transfers just like we do. We are all the same. You are us now. So I don't go along with the victimhood that many Blues fans feel, but today I will. Who did we highlight on the show? Arsenal? I love that for Arsenal, a successful season is finishing in fifth with no trophies and ending a season not screaming about their manager or their owners, which they usually do. And it certainly didn't start out that way, did it? Beginning of the year, Arteta. And Tottenham, great success for you. You finished below us in the table and won no trophies. Though you're practically allergic to winning trophies. And you've got two of the top 5 strikers in the world. Hey, does anyone remember when Nuno Espirito Santo was manager of the month in August? He got fired mid-year. What a tremendously successful season. And while I continue to roast the heroes the show chose to honor, let's not forget Liverpool. Liverpool won 2 domestic cups on penalties. Against our side, of course, but I'm not bitter about it. No. I'm still bitter about the shootout in the 2007 Champions League semifinal. Forget about this new stuff. I'm still bitter about 15 years ago. And trust me, nothing that happened this year helped me to exorcise any of those demons. Anyway, yes, let's recognize Liverpool and City had phenomenal seasons. That's true. But also recognize that Liverpool failed to win the league. The one championship they crave the most, and they remained tied with championship side Blackburn Rovers and Leicester for the fewest amount of titles by anyone who's ever won one. Just to repeat that, Liverpool's league success is roughly equal to that of Blackburn Rovers. And you know what? You didn't do anything to better yourself this year, Liverpool. City, what a year, and what a 5 minutes you had to secure the title. You should be proud, you should be. But you won't be, because the one thing you really want, a European title, eludes you again. So while failure was rampant all around the grounds this year, the Blues actually put together a great season. So for Chelsea fans, here it is. Our year in review. It's backwards on the camera. See, the off-season seemed to be everything that we wanted. We were the champions of Europe, clearly on the rise. And in August, we seemed to get the piece we needed to make the moves domestically. You see, going into the year, the knock on Chelsea was that they needed a world-class striker to finish the goals that the team was otherwise lacking. And we got our man. Riding high in a strong finish to the 2021 season and an awesome Euro tourney in the summer, we brought back our former Chelsea man, Romelu Lukaku, the second best guy Jose Mourinho ever sold off. It was supposed to elevate us to title threats. And you know what? In the beginning of the season, it did. But while we're on the topic of who we added on the deadline, we added Sal. Yeah. But going into the year, we did have to say goodbye to some old friends, and we're going to see how much we regret that. Tammy Abraham and Fiyoko Tomori, both of whom might play for England and Qatar this year, along with Olivier Giroud, went to Italy. Kurt Zuma moved to West Ham, and Mark Guehi was sent to Palace. And of course, as always, we sent out a bunch of young players on loan. Players like Billy Gilmore, players like Conor Gallagher. They were out. So our season, the soccer part of it, began with a trophy. A trophy on penalties, even. The Champions League champions Chelsea took on the Europa League champions Villarreal in the Super Cup, and they played 90 minutes and then 120 to a 1-1 draw. But at the end of that, manager Thomas Tuchel seemed to make a brilliant decision. In the 119th minute, Tuchel brought on Kepa for the penalty shootout, and Kepa proceeded to make 2 saves and help us win our first Super Cup in this millennium. That seemed like a pretty good formula at the time. But the early league season for Chelsea was also full of promise. In the Champions League, we had a pretty easy draw, and it left almost no doubt that we'd be through to the knockout stages. Lukaku looked to be continuing his momentum from the year before, scoring 3 goals in his first 3 Chelsea games and powering Chelsea to the top of the league, a position that they held from the end of September to the beginning of December straight. However, a 3-2 loss to West Ham on December 4th allowed City and Liverpool to overtake them. But it's interesting to note that that's how the table remained for the rest of the year. Liverpool, City, Chelsea were the top 3. And despite all the ups and downs the season seemed to have for Chelsea, they never moved from 3rd since December. Meanwhile, a lot changed for Chelsea in February. The month began with Chelsea still holding out hope for a league title. They were in the FA Cup. They had the final of the League Cup, and they were still in the Champions League. Now, Chelsea did win their first Club World Cup at the beginning of the month, largely on the back of Romelu Lukaku, who scored goals in both of Chelsea's matches, one being the winner of a game and the other getting the final to extra time, where Kai Havertz's penalty late in extra time added the golden patch to Chelsea's hideous swinging 60s kits. Don't worry, Chelsea fans. Next year, we won't look like we're tripping everywhere we go. We're just going to look like we're wearing a jersey over a Hawaiian shirt. I digress. February also saw Chelsea in the League Cup final against Liverpool, and it was an epic match. While it ended 0-0 at the end of 120 minutes, both sides had amazing opportunities to break through, while the absolutely brilliant play of Edouard Mendy was balancing out the hapless finishing of Mason Mount and Christian Pulisic, Mount missing a wide-open opportunity. Both teams were denied goals by VAR, and then at the end, we saw that move again. We saw Kepa. Now, Mendy had made no fewer than 5 crucial saves, including 2 big rebound saves to keep Liverpool at 0. But Kepa had done well in the Super Cup. Anyway, we know now that Kepa would dance around like a moron and end up missing the 11th penalty, costing us the silverware 11-10. So while Chelsea were winning in Dubai and losing at Wembley, the outside world struck Chelsea a major blow. See, on February 24th, Russia invaded Ukraine. And the collective world reaction against the Russian Federation was to begin to target Russian oligarchs. That week, longtime owner Roman Abramovich sensed that his position was at risk, and he put the team up for sale. Government of the UK had other ideas, though, and they sanctioned a number of oligarchs, Abramovich included. From there, uncertainty reigned. For a time, Chelsea weren't able to sell tickets to matches. Their accounts were frozen, and rumors were abound that the team had to pay to get the bus up and running for a couple of weeks. Now, as we know, eventually the administrators who were put in charge of moving Chelsea from Abramovich to a new owner selected Dodgers owner Todd Boehly, and as of today, it's official. The sale pending can go away. So, to this commentator, the legacy of Roman Abramovich will always be complex. Let's face it, he made us. Before Mr. A, Chelsea were a middling side who had an ancient title and a long-ago FA Cup, and they were closer to their relegation years than they were to trophies. He ushered in a lot of big things to the English game. We mentioned them before. The big money foreign owner, the cash splash, the chase for the big players, spending £100 million plus. You all do it now because of Abramovich. Chelsea won 18 titles with Chelsea, and his legacy as an owner could never be in doubt. He spent the money to make a mediocre London team into a world-class side. And you know what? No one will ever be able to take that away from him or question his work at the team. However, the things that made him became his undoing at Chelsea. I mentioned on the show that I made a choice to support Chelsea in the early 2000s because of what Mr. Abramovich was planning to do. I was a Russian studies major in college, and the promise of globalization was to spread peace through economic interconnectedness. That was the prevailing philosophy of the day. So, seemed good. Plus, to me, Arsenal was a big money, big city team full of tradition, and Man U were the same, and everyone liked them. In American sports, I liken them to the Yankees and the Red Sox in baseball, while my team are the Phillies, which were like Chelsea. Famous club, don't win much, old club. And when Abramovich came, they were going to come out of nowhere and be good. It was exciting. It's been great. However, that big money came from the backs of the Russian people, many of whom Roman Abramovich and agents acting for him screwed personally. And before any of the supporters of any of the other sides want to complain about that, your billionaire owners screwed over people too. That's how you become a billionaire. However, Abramovich made his money during the absolutely hapless Boris Yeltsin administration. But he bet big on the rise of Vladimir Putin, and he won. At one point, Abramovich was the governor of a remote area in Siberia called Shakhtka, which has a lot of minerals. And if one is going to have patronage like that, they're going to have to deal with the consequences when those patrons do bad things. The invasion of Ukraine and the ongoing slaughter there needed consequences. And for the world, the UK government did the right thing in sanctioning Abramovich and eventually removing him from Chelsea Football Club. The world, unfortunately, is bigger than football. Anyway, going back to the football side of Chelsea's season, February 24th is a big dividing line. League Cup final was after that. Chelsea's league success also kind of dried up. And silly losses like a 4-1 loss to Brentford really hurt their ability to contend in the league. But for all of their perceived failure, Chelsea only lost 3 matches in the second half of the season and never really looked worse than the third place side. All the outside pressures seemed to come to a head in April. We learned Thomas Tuchel, who by that point had become the unwitting spokesperson for the club, and we learned he was going to divorce his wife, and that was in the run-up to a hugely important Champions League quarterfinal. That combined with the uncertainty regarding the ownership situation, Tuchel's problems, it all became a big distraction, and it seemed to manifest itself in a 3-1 drubbing at the hands of Real Madrid at the Bridge. But, Chelsea, they looked adrift at times during the season, but they also showed great heart at times, too. And frankly, if it wasn't for the sheer brilliance of Luka Modric and Karim Benzema, Chelsea were on the verge of one of the greatest turnarounds in Champions League history. However, it wasn't. There, that brilliance was there, and Chelsea's Champions League season ended in Madrid. So, of course, the final competition we were involved with was the FA Cup final. And I think that the Prince of Darkness, Liverpool, Will, and I pretty sufficiently and very recently covered that at length on the main show. So there's no need for us to rehash those old wounds. So fresh. But anyway, let's talk about the season in sum. Let's talk about what went right. First off, it's hard to call a season with trophies, even if they're minor international trophies that are a knock-on from your previous year's success. It's hard to call that a failure. And third place in the league is better than 17 other teams, some of whom had great seasons. Tottenham, Arsenal, Man U. Young players like Maling Sarr, Trivo Chalobah. Chalobah is an academy product. They emerge and they look poised to move up in the pecking order with the departures that are going to happen this summer. Also, the continued emergence of Reece James is a high note, and Edouard Mendy continues to impress as one of the world's best goalkeepers. Kai Havertz looks like a piece that should be there going forward, and heck, even Timo Werner gave us some exciting moments there. His pairing with Havertz looking better as the season went on. But for Chelsea to honestly challenge City and Liverpool for the title, or to avoid Liverpool's penalty kicks, they need to overcome what seems to be their greatest failure, finishing in front of the net. The addition of Lukaku was supposed to be the solution to this. However, his style of play doesn't really seem to gel with Chelsea's wings-in approach. And on top of that, the continued misses in front of the net by Mason Mount and Christian Pulisic really hurt Chelsea's chances in every competition. In fact, Havertz and Werner were not immune to that either. Timo in particular. But so going forward, I think there are going to be some big changes. I don't think Chelsea would be able to move on from all the players they'd probably like to, especially Lukaku. That's a lot of money, big contract. And their underperformance this year is going to hurt their values in demand. However, I wouldn't be surprised to see Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, and maybe Timo leave. With Mount and Havertz there and potentially Lukaku, frankly, I think probably Lukaku, one would think that they're going to need at least 2 new pieces up front. Additionally, the defense is going to lose Antonio Rudiger, Christensen, Marcus Alonso, and Azpilicueta, and they're going to have to focus on rebuilding that. Now, as I mentioned, Sarr and Chalobah look good at times, but with Thiago Silva turning what I think is 76 this year, they're going to need some defensive help. All right, so in sum, Chelsea won 2 trophies, got 2 runners-up medals, they qualified for Europe, got a new owner, and generally had a pretty tremendous season, even if it wasn't one for your picture book. Man, I hope we fail this much again next year. Although, I'll take one of those domestic trophies. No more penalty kicks. So, for the Too Many Guys Soccer Show, it's me, Chelsea Mike, signing off. If you like what we do, or if you just like what I said in this video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you can know every time we put up a new video. And of course, Download or listen wherever you get your podcast. Signing off, Chelsea Mike. And as always, we'll try to do better next time.